Okay, so continuing with this model, now that I have it roughly painted and I could just spend more time on dedicating more, doing more detail to it. I don't want to go and cover it all because I want to generate some of those white spaces. I want to be able to clean them up and use them as in my benefit in Maya. And the idea with that is that just like my background painting has all those white openings that are caused by the technique of using the watercolor, I want to do the same trick on my creature. So when I bring it to Maya, it can blend in with the background a bit more. And of course, you can do a better job deciding how much of which parts of the body will you want it to be blending in. But for now, this is what I have. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to, in order for me to export out the color texture, we already know how to export out bond maps and displacement maps and normal maps, but we need to be able to export out the color texture. That you go to the texture map section here. We can create. Right now we're using polypaint, meaning we're colorizing, we're painting. What you polypaint is what allows you to colorize paint on the guy. But if you go to texture map, I can say that create a new texture from the polypaint. That way it uses the UV map and it creates a painting, a laid out version of your texture on your guy. Remember, the higher your resolution here, the better, more defined your texture is going to be. So in my case, I'm not too worried about it because my image is very imprecise, very low res. So I shouldn't be worried about it. Now the way to export it out, it's a bit funny because you have to clone your texture. By cloning your texture, it adds it to the texture window. And when you are in texture window, you simply have it now to select it, which is already selected. And then you can go and export it out. You say export, and it allows you to create, I'm going to just say a Photoshop file of it. I could do PNG too, but I'm going to open it in Photoshop in a moment. So I'm going to go under my dinosaur here, turn the ZBrush out. I want to say dino body painted. Painterly better. All right, so I'm going to say save. And that goes to the process. Hopefully it saves my image. I'm going to minimize my file here. Let me close this one. I'm going to go to Maya and open my Maya and try to bring it there. But before I do that, I want to look at that image in Photoshop. So I'm going to open it in Photoshop. And I want to test something also because it's giving me the PNG option, which of course PNG would be an interesting way to export it out too. That way you could go directly to Maya. But for now, I'm going to try to open it up in Photoshop just to see how it looks there, my output here. So here is my Painterly file. So I want to grab that and put it here. All right, so this is my file. So you see that all of it, whatever is outside of UV map is black, and black is not, we don't want black at all. So I'm going to actually select all the black with the magic wand. Actually, make sure you select non-contiguous spaces. The downside is that if your texture has black, by any chance, you want to make sure that you have it at the right, you don't have that much, you can erase it, and we can look at different options for you to export it out. Ooh, my Photoshop just crashed. Well, let me just launch it again. All right, hopefully it won't happen again. Let me try launching that file again. When I look at it, see, first of all, when I erase that, but let me look at the image size just to make sure that I have the right image size. This one's 2048 by 2048, which is the format that I want. And I forgot to mention the previous video, you want to make sure that your UV map is set to 2048 by 2048. So when you export it out, it makes sense that your texture map works on the right size. So let me minimize this one here. I'm gonna try doing the process again. I'm gonna select all the white, remove contiguous, so I can select all the black, I'm sorry. I'm gonna delete that and just unlock the layer, delete that. At the same time, I'm going to select with that magic wand, I'm gonna delete all white. So it becomes complete translucent. And you can increase your tolerance or the selection. You want to erase more than that, you can have a tolerance of 32. You can make it larger, so you erase more white. I'm gonna keep it like that just for now, just to see how it looks. I'm gonna save this image as a PNG this time. So I'm gonna save it. I'm gonna put it actually in my Maya folder, Dinobody, Painterly, PNG. I'm gonna say save. All right, and then I'm gonna go to my Maya. Just close with Photoshop. Actually, I'm gonna close ZBrush because it's going to take, I already saved it. It's going to take a bit of space for me to do it. I keep Photoshop just in case I need to go back to Photoshop. So I'm gonna just open my Maya now. So now I have my Maya open and I have my file here open, ready to be applied. So the first thing I'm gonna do, just for placement purposes, I'm gonna create a camera. And let me look through that camera. We're gonna make sure that camera is there. I'm gonna use the image plane, and this is just for me to see it. We won't render it out at the end, and we'll see the compositing components in a different video. But for now, I'm gonna create on this camera, I'm gonna click on the little icon here and create the back paint as my image plane. I'm gonna have it right here, and I'm gonna lock my camera so that I have my guy positioned there. So, and I'm going to create a shader. I could bring an AI flat for it, but it's not AI flat what I'm going to be using. I'm going to be using a different shader from Maya under the surface. It's called a surface shader. And this is very similar to the AI flat, which doesn't have any shading on it. It just has color and transparency. So I'm going to connect to the color. I'm going to go and look for that image that we have, the Dinobody Painterly PNG, that one. And I'm going to assign that material to my object. So if I press 6 on my keyboard, that should do it. Right now, you can see that the image came out of place. So, and it is because the UV map, as we mentioned before, ZBrush flips them for some reason. So you can try flipping the UV maps, but I don't want to do that because of the textures. So I'm going to just make sure that I'm going to just click on my placement node. I'm going to just make sure to mirror EV. I'm going to remove, translate the frame to -1. That way you can see now the texture is being correctly placed. Now, if I render this out, my object will look let me just do a quick render here. So you render this out, you'll see that your object, hopefully it'll come soon. You can see that the object's placed there. There are no lights in this scene, just the object, but whatever it was, I wanted to be transparent. It is black right now. There is no transparency on it. The reason for that is because, of course, the transparency is not part of the picture here. Although this PNG has transparency in it, you don't want it to be doing what it's doing right now, which is just using the color. You wanted to use the alpha as well. So I'm actually going to use this same node, which is my photo, my image, right? I'm going to make it bigger so you can see it here. Right in the image, and I'm going to duplicate just that object without the network. So you can duplicate the whole network. If you need to duplicate the whole network, I'm going to duplicate just that object. And this one is the same texture, just as two times the file. But this one, I'm going to use it to map the alpha to the transparency of it. So let me open other transparency options right there. I gotta be closer. So I'm gonna connect the alpha into the transparency in R and G and in B. So that makes my object transparent, but notice what it's doing. It is making the object transparent, meaning it's showing all that was supposed to be showing is rendering, what is not supposed to be showing is not rendering. So, you know, it's backwards. So what I need to do simply is just modify the node that I'm using for the alpha only. I'm not using the color, I'm using just the alpha, and I'm going to reverse it. So I'm going to say here, I'm going to say on effect, I'm going to invert that. So that way the object gets the part that I need to be modified. Let me turn off my wireframing shader here. You can see some of those parts kind of disappearing in the background. And you can go back to Photoshop and modify the object, or you can go here and try to play with the color balance to see if you can modify your alpha gain by making it less or more translucent. You can see here the alpha modifying a little bit so that alpha offset, I can just try to make the alpha here more or less translucent. Though this one is overall, not just the specific holes, but it helps a little bit. I don't think this one will do the job. Actually, this one is inverting it. Let me see. It's not exactly what I was looking for. Alpha gain. Maybe it's not exactly what I'm looking for. It's doing a little bit of it, but not exactly. So I'm not going to do that. I'm going to just try to keep it inverted here. Try to maybe make it up like that. And there, maybe halfway here. And if I test render it, I should be looking pretty much the same thing. Of course, you know, it comes down to the painting that I have. This is the previous version. Let me try to get. So I'm seeing some things in there that is not quite right. It's not done yet. It looks like still froze. Seeing some transparency. Oh, it just crashed. That's why. Some two crashes. So I'm gonna pause my video for now while I'm launch my Maya again and see what happens. Okay, I got my file back up and I'm just playing with my texture that I'm using as my mask, as my alpha. And I was playing with it a little bit. I think just with the same values I was playing with at the end, just making sure that at the end when it's inverted, you keep it inverted, that way it's activated. And then you just modify your amount of alpha gain so you can get a better looking result here. So you can just test it and just keep it running there until you see your result making sense. You go all the way to the opposite, it makes the black completely black, or you go all the way up, you kind of start fading. You can also change with your fading a little bit more. You're gonna blend it a bit more with the background. Of course, it's a back and forth. You can go back to Photoshop as well and erase some of those holes. If you want to just put a background image just to preview what those holes are, so you can see, okay, I can just probably just click on extra selection with your magic wand and lose and make some more holes in it. The other thing too is that when you are working on your object to render it, to avoid it showing the back wall, so that's in VLX in 3D, you make sure it's not double-sided. You see how when you make it double-sided, you can see the wall behind it. I can just turn it on and off. You can see how it changes here. So you want to turn it off. That way, I'm going to unlock my camera for now. When you rotate it here and you render it out, whatever is rendered out is just what it sees behind. It's not rendering out anything else beyond that point. Now let me just stop rendering this. I'm gonna do one last thing here, and it is I want to make sure I put a shadow underneath of this so that he blends with the ground. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a light. There are no lights in this scene, by the way. I'm going to create a directional light, put it downwards, move it up so it makes more sense to me. I'm going to create a ground plane, and in that ground plane, I'm going just to put a bigger plane like there, and I'm going to just make sure the ground plane is using, let me clear my workspace here. I'm going to create a shader, shadow matte shader. I'm going to assign that to the ground plane. So the shadow matte is going to receive hopefully only the shadow from my ground plane, from my object. And now it looks a bit sharp. And that is because, of course, the light is too sharp, but I can just simply change the angle, the angle of that light. So let's say, for example, I'm going to go 3. I can change that to a softer lighting. I can make sure go maybe I can go like 6. That softens a bit more. And additional to that, I can change and change some of the characteristics of the light, so of the shadow, so that I can play with my density a little bit more, so it kind of softens it, and you start seeing a better chance of that light. Of course, you can capture samples to 3, as we said before. I might just say maybe 0.8, just so it's very, very blurry, very, very soft. And of course, when the character is posed, it's going to make a lot more sense. For now, let's just leave it like that. You can see how my characters start blending. Of course, I need to pose it a bit better to make sure that it poses a bit blends in that environment. And of course, maybe go back to ZBrush and paint it some more.